When you're going after the big tarpon, you need a big fly, and a lot of times on the flats they want this bigger pattern, and the one I'm going to tell you today is called the black and red Puglisi. It's a very nice pattern for fishing those flats for the bigger fish, and it uses some of those EP Puglisi fibers that are very nice to tie with for bait fish patterns. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. We'll tie on a size 2/0 saltwater hook. We'll use some 6/0 red thread to tie with, some black EP fibers for the body, some pearl blue angel hair as the highlights, some red EP fibers for the head, some medium plastic black and white eyes for the eyes, some goop to hold the eyes in place, and a toothbrush or a comb to comb out the hair. To start the fly off, I've put my red thread onto the hook, and I've taken, just a nice clump of your EP fiber, not just so you can roll it in your fingers, and it's tough to explain how much to take, but you'll get used to it. Just a small amount, you don't need much of the fiber. We're going to lay it on top of the hook, and I measure back about 4 inches. I want this fly to extend 4 inches back past the hook, so I'm going to just tie it in a little bit longer. Only tie it on the top of the hook, 1 or 2 wraps, and then the excess you have pulled to the underneath the hook, and again 1 or 2 wraps there. So repeat this step a couple of times, probably 2 or 3, and then what we're going to do is put in our highlights. So again, lay it on the top, measure back so you're 4 inches past your hook. Again, just one wrap, one nice tight wrap. Bring that other material down below your hook and wrap it in. And after you've got a couple of these wraps, we're going to tie in some highlights for the tail. After I put in about 3 wraps of my black, I'm going to take some angel hair highlights, and only about 3 or 4. You want to keep this quite minimal. And we'll just wrap it out to the side, just kind of as tail highlights. And leave them long. We'll cut everything off after to length once we blend the fibers. So I've got my highlights in. I've taken about three strands on the top and bottom of my black, put in my highlights, and now I'm going to do another 2 or 3 in front of the highlights. And again, just measure back off the back of your hook, making sure it's long enough, and tie it in on the top and bottom. And as we get this fly a little bit further along, you're going to use a little trick just to add a little body to the fly. Now that we have about 6 strands of our black tied in the top and bottom, we're getting quite a bushy body built up. I'm going to take about 2 or 3 in front with the red now. Same kind of thing. But now I'm going to put my fibers on the thread and pull it back and do some of the top, and then I'll do some of the bottom the exact same way. Onto my thread and tie it off on the bottom. And this is going to make this fly, give it some real body. Now that we have all our EP fibers tied in, I'm going to whip finish off here, and you can see there's still quite a bit of the hook exposed, and that's fine. That's what you want. You want that to have a nice silver head on that. Just whip finish it off. We'll put some glue on the whip finish after we do that. And then we'll take it out of our vise and we'll trim. And before we trim, you can see I've taken the toothbrush and I'm just blending it all together before we trim. And taking that toothbrush just blends those fibers together, allows it to flow. Now we're trimming the pattern. You want to be very careful. You want to just trim it to the shape and let it flare out. Let those fibers flare out because it'll take on the natural shape when you get in the water. And we'll start trimming to shape. And again, you want it to taper like a bait fish. So now that I've combed out the fly, combined all the different colors together, and I've actually cut it to shape, I'm going to take my needle and put a little bit of goop on there. You don't need much, just get a nice little chunk of goop on there. Get it ready. Now what I'm going to do is put it on my fly, where I want to put just roll it on there, roll it in, fibers, and then stick your eyes on. So there it is, the finished black and red Puglisi. There's a lot of different ways to tie the pattern. Some people tie it very thin with using, very light colors. Other people tie it thicker. I prefer the thicker ones when we're fishing for the big tarpon because it really does stand out in those flats and they do like it. If you're fishing for tarpon, have some of these in your fly box. They definitely work. To watch all our latest Sport Fishing on the Fly episodes and to order Sport Fishing on the Fly merchandise, head to www.sfotf.ca. And if you would like to book an adventure like this one shown, head to ontheflyadventures.ca and book yourself the trip of a lifetime.